Hey, party people, over 12 here, and welcome to the 11th Suburban Gooner podcast. Because Arsenal love 11th hour transfers, we've decided to make our 11th podcast a transfer special. Speaking of transfers, Chris can't actually be with us this evening because he's busy in his other life as a football agent. I'm reliably informed that he's currently completing a deal to move Jermaine Defoe to Toronto from Tottenham. And if you haven't heard of them, they're a small team from London, never gets old. We do have Ben. Hiya, Ben, you here with us?
Yes, how's it going?
And we have Kristian, a.k.a. @FootyWriter. How are you doing, Kristian?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Thank you for coming on. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your account? Because it's a general footy account, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an account I started a couple of years ago, picked up quite a lot. A fair few followers, some nice guys, some not so nice guys, but, you know, it's
as always.
It keeps me entertained. It's a good account.
Good. So if you want to look at that, guys, it is @FootyWriters, I say. Take a look on Twitter, and you talk about transfers quite a lot, which we'll speak about later. And I saw a tweet, I think it was about a week or so ago. And what's your record about the transfers that you get right and wrong?
That's 35 and 7 at the moment.
Cool. So you're not a general just spam transfers left, right, and centre, because that's only a 40 odd in total. So
yeah, that's in 2 years almost. So that's
cool.
Not a lot.
Great. To start with, I thought we'd talk about the opportunity for us to get revenge away to Aston Villa on Monday, and the boss has spoken about the possibility of Giroud, Gibbs, Ramsey and Ox being all in contention of being there. Do you think he'll bring them all back at once, Ben?
Probably not. I had a friend who went to the Fulham...
Friend!
Fulham under-21 behind closed doors thing. And it was rumoured that someone shouted at him, do you think you'd be able to play on Monday? And he shouted back, no, I can hardly run. Like, it was in jest. But yeah, no, I'd be shocked if he could play. But if Giroud is fit, obviously we need him, because Theo, unfortunately, I don't think I've still got over it, but he's out. So fingers crossed. But Ramsey, I suppose if he's fit up, I suppose you just rest him, as in give him some minutes, sort of half an hour or something. But no, I would go with the majority and just obviously being Giroud, because we haven't got another striker, unfortunately.
Yeah. How about you, Christian?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be careful with the lads on Monday, being as we've got Fulham at home on the following Saturday, so he's got an opportunity to...
I would suspect so, yeah. My guess is far too many injuries coming back. You risk bringing them all back at the same time and then them pulling up. Yeah. He's not going to want to do that again. I think one might start. He might feature a couple off the bench, give him a run out. But I think Villa shouldn't be too much of an issue, to be honest.
Let's hope so, but we would have probably thought that on the first day of the season as well.
Yeah, that's true. But then things have turned around since then. So.
Yeah, definitely so. We're doing okay. Speaking of the Ox, Wenger has spoken on the site and his press conferences and stuff about him being a deep-lying central midfielder in the future, and actually likening him to Steven Gerrard. What do you guys think about that?
Ben?
My personal opinion, he's got centre midfield written all over him. The way he sort of plays, the way his movement, his natural movement is to support the play rather than run off, if that makes sense. So whereas someone like Theo, he's always looked like on the last shoulder and is looking to go on, whereas Ox always wants to get involved, and he has all the technique and skill to be a fantastic midfielder. And as we know, things change so quickly. You look at someone like Aaron Ramsey, how he's developed so quickly. And I think Ox, if you gave him a run, I think we'd have a very special player on our hands.
How about you, Kristian?
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I think about moving him in is you lose one of his greatest attributes, and that's his pace. He's not going to get the chance to run directly, especially if you're playing Giroud up front. You're going to want to get the ball out to the wings and get Oxlade-Chamberlain running at right back or a left back, getting the ball in, and then you get Giroud in his most dangerous position on his head. So I would suggest that it would take quite a lot of work. Did he say he wanted to play him as an advanced playmaker?
He actually said deep lying.
Right.
He said he's got a good long ball on him.
It would be the similar role that he played against Milan at home.
Yeah.
Where he was allowed, basically, he was given the role as a number 8, so he was allowed to go box to box.
Yeah, he said a bit like a Ramsey type player is what he's kind of said. So
it'd be interesting because our 3 English young boys, how they all sort of play, they want to play in a similar position. So we're going to be in a situation where all 3 are fighting for one position. Obviously, he will, like, if it got to it, they would all play and he would play them in separate positions. But ideally, they all want to be playing in that one position. So it'd be interesting to see, it's hard to say now, but who will actually win that battle and get the role.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have. And when you say three young English, are you kind of wishing that Ramsey was English?
Yeah, British. Cough, British. Yeah.
The other thing is people kind of, they talk about who's going to replace Rosicky, and, is Ox a candidate to replace Rosicky when he eventually stops being able to run? Not that it looks like it's going to be anytime soon.
I think he is, I think he could play that role quite well. I think, going back to my original point, that if he's deep lying, I don't know whether he has that in him, because that suggests that he's going to be box to box, which means he's going to be having to make last-ditch tackles, and I don't think he's got that in his locker. Going forward, on the other hand, he's a dangerous player. If he gets his head down and he's running at players, I mean, there's not many better, especially, young English talents like that.
Yeah. And I think you're right about kind of Wenger wanting to play a bit more a role, because, as Chris has said in some of his blogs, that he started the game against Villa the first day of the season, so that would suggest he was in the plans quite a big part of the plan. So it was a big shame, obviously, to lose him.
But he picks players on rank, doesn't he?
Sorry?
He picks players on rank.
Yeah.
Rather than, whereas you or I would say, let's pick player X because he's done this, he's got the potential to do this. But he would probably go for player Y because he's maybe been there longer, he's worked harder in training or something we won't know. So it's interesting debate, isn't it, to see what, for the reasons he would pick him or not. But I don't know. But when you sort of going back to Tottenham last week and Gnabry out wide, and he was so natural, wasn't he?
Yeah.
At running at players, and he had the intelligence to sort of slide balls through. We've got a lot of very good players, and it's very exciting, isn't it? We're having this conversation about it, and it's really quite pointless because we've got all these amazing players to sort of sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. And one of the best playmakers of them all, Mr. Ozil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not a bad position to be in. It's a shame that it's the 12th today, and we're already getting people on Twitter kind of whinging, and the doom and gloom's coming back, the negativity, and you think, you look at some of the players that we got, the way that we have been playing, we've won scrappy some games as well, the way we've been playing. We've got Ozil, and you've got these people that they're kind of starting to come out the woodwork now. I even saw people saying, oh, we haven't signed anyone, Wenger doesn't like sign anyone, even the board made him sign Ozil. And it's like, come on.
Yeah, that's just people naturally being sceptical about everything until you give them a reason not to. So there'll always be people like that.
If we're talking about the rotation that we'll think the bigs, obviously we don't think he'll bring everybody back at once. If you had to choose, I'll put this to you first, Ben. If you had to choose which kind of 2 or 3 players to bring back against Villa, and then the same, who would you say for Fulham?
I would, as I said earlier, just Giroud, and then give them game time against Villa, and then do the same, give them game time against Fulham. Because of the run that's coming up, I don't think there's no rush to force the issue, really.
So when you say game time, kind of start Giroud, but the others on the bench, and hopefully getting a bit of time towards the end.
Towards the end, last 20, because we're getting into the business end of the season, so we need to pick up the points, and the run that we have when it's like the gauntlet, isn't it, of Munich, United, Spurs, Everton, Chelsea, City, all them in a sort of a huddle. Yeah, no, I would just be making sure we get the points.
How about you, Kristian? Do you think that's wise?
Yeah, I spot on. I agree with that.
Cool. Okay. Moving on to transfers then. what have you two seen about Draxler? That seems to be picking up on Twitter and in the news today.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I tell you, there's been noise about it since last summer. I've wrote an article on it back in November, actually, about how Wenger was the only one holding up the deal. The board had given him backing. He had expressed his interest. Draxler had expressed his interest. And Schalke were not happy, but they were willing to listen to offers.
Yeah.
Based on they didn't really want an unhappy player at their club. Now, a few days ago, Goal wrote a piece on it, and it seems to have come from that. My guess is, and this is a guess, even though I do think Draxler will sign for Arsenal at some point, which is quite a big statement. My guess is that when Wenger was talking about speeding up a transfer movement, he was talking about Draxler.
Okay.
Which would be obviously a huge move.
Yeah.
I'm still not 100% sure if he'll make it in January, but my guess is he's inquired already.
And do you think he's kind of what we need at the moment?
Do you know the amount of people that said that Ozil wasn't what Arsenal needed,
Yeah.
but look what he's done. I mean Draxler's potentially world class. He's very, very good at the moment. He's potentially world class. Players like that lift the morale, lift the spirits. He's got the ability to win a game. I think anyone would want Draxler, to be honest.
Okay. What have you seen of him, Kristian? Because I've only really seen bits and bobs, especially the highlights when he played Chelsea and seemed to have a very good game. What kind of position does he pick up in the team at the moment?
Well, he's sort of free. He picks up. He's a bit like Ozil, right? In that he'll kind of play the role, like Hazard. He'll play whatever role he's at the time, which I think will work really well with Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain when he comes back, if he's still going to play him on the wing. I mean, he's predominantly attacking midfielder, and he's very much like Ross Barkley, in that he'll create a lot. He's got very good vision. He'll pick a pass. I think he'll work really well with Ozil. Hopefully they don't step on one another's toes, but I think they could be potentially two of the best playmakers in the world. And if Arsenal have that and they're providing to Giroud and he's on form, that's going to be scary for other teams.
And then we've got little old Santi Cazorla as well, so it won't be a bad situation to be in.
There's too much creativity.
What have you seen about Draxler, Ben?
Similar to what Kristian was saying, really. I've seen a few rumours that we have like a pre-contract with him already. So the summer, if it's going to happen, it may already happen. But there was the guy? Oh, what's his name? I forgot. I should have wrote it down. He just tweeted that he has a buyout clause that activates every summer. If a club wants to buy him now, they have to pay more than his release clause to activate it. And Schalke are not happy, but they would be willing to sell, obviously, because they'd get more than they would in the summer. But if it meant us paying like an extra 5 mil to get him, I'd be absolutely delighted. Yeah. I'd be shocked if we did a deal now. But if there's a chance of it happening, I think you've got to take it for the risk of getting gazumped in the summer by a plethora of teams, basically, because it almost, from an Arsenal perspective, it almost feels like a Hazard situation where we scouted him for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then he had that fantastic season. Everyone went, oh, hang on a minute, he's actually half decent, and we just got outdone because of wages. So, that's it. If there's an opportunity to get it done, I'd be delighted.
Yeah, okay, cool. Moving on from Draxler then, did either of you watch Barcelona Atletico Madrid?
Yes.
It was quite funny watching Twitter before and during the game. Every Arsenal fan turned into a scout and we're talking about Costa And there was a whole kind of argument, and people after the game was like, after that one game against Barcelona, all of a sudden they don't want Costa. He's not good enough.
I love so reactionary.
Yeah. What did you think of the game and Costa's performance?
Go on, Kristian.
It's Barcelona. People have got to get realistic with who they're playing against. I mean, he's playing against some of the best centre backs in the world. Diego Costa's a very, very good player. He's started to show what he can do last season, and now he's setting La Liga on fire. I mean, nobody can argue with that. He's turned into something else this season. But those that are saying, he was playing Barcelona, he was poor, let's not sign him. That's just just people jumping on the bandwagon more than anything.
Do you think he will move in January?
I don't. No.
Do you think he'll move in the summer?
As I say to all the people that ask me, there's a big gap. A lot of things can happen in the 5 months between January transfer window and the summer transfer window opening. My guess is that he won't move to any team in England in January, and that he'll evaluate in the summer. Atletico Madrid, I've heard, have offered a contract to him to get rid of to make his buyout higher, as that's a requirement in Spain. But we're talking from 32 million to 132 million. So that's how much they want to keep him.
Yeah.
But sorry to disappoint. I don't think he's moving.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised. Do you know my problem with him is the amount of money that he would cost, and I don't think he justifies the sum of money.
Yeah.
He's as you said, he's excellent, but I feel like he's quite limited. I don't know. I would expect more. If I was paying that sum of money for a striker, I think I'd want more.
I think you'd want some kind of I suppose you can never have a guarantee, but you'd want more of a guarantee than what we've seen. Because like you say, Kristian, kind of like towards some of last season and so far this season, he's been absolutely great. But
he's been an animal.
It's kind of only fairly recently in his footballing career that he started to really become a world name, if you like.
You just question why is it. Obviously, some people are just late bloomers, but it does question why is it taken this long. Obviously, he's had to fight with like Falcao, to get a starting space, which is just ridiculous. But no, it does make you wonder. So I don't know. That's just I've always been in the camp that I'm not sure he justifies that sum of money, to be honest.
Do you know anything about his goal scoring record before he was at Atletico?
No, not really.
Yeah, it was awful. He's 25 and he's been at, I think, 5 Spanish clubs or 6 Spanish clubs, most of them on loan.
Didn't they pick him up for like $1 million?
Yeah, it was very cheap. He was he was once used as a part exchange for Asenio, the goalkeeper. Yeah, and Asenio's a good goalkeeper, but he's not that good. But and then he was predominantly a backup to when they had Aguero and Forlan.
Oh yeah.
And now he's kind of burst onto the scene, but I think he grabbed this chance more than anything. I'm not going anywhere now. No, Falcao, no, go away.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the Spanish media have been saying that his contribution has been better than Falcao's ever was. Just his all-round game is that much better. It's quite interesting watching him against Barcelona. It was very much Drogba versus Arsenal, where they didn't know, they couldn't handle him.
Yeah.
Well, granted, he didn't get a goal, but they just couldn't handle him. And it was a 5-6 minutes in where he burst down just breaks into the box or whips the ball across, and you're thinking, oh my God, this could be a 2-3-0 to Atletico Madrid, but unfortunately they couldn't break the deadlock, so it wasn't meant to be.
I just had a quick look in the font of all knowledge, which is Wikipedia, and I've just looked at it. So apparently his youth career, he started at Barcelona, apparently, a Barcelona EP,
Everyone starts at Barcelona.
Yeah. And then before Atletico Madrid, where he was on loan apparently at Rayo Vallecano, where he got 9 goals in 16 games. In 2009-2010, he was at Valladolid and got 7 goals in 34 games. And then before that, it's kind of a lot of loan deals, where he's getting 5 goals in 30 games.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he played 100 games and scored about 12, 13 or 14 goals before he was at Valladolid, which is awful.
That's poor.
Yeah, I think, like we say, it doesn't mean he's not amazing
now,
but it's a bigger risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then you look at players like, the two standout ones, Torres and Shevchenko, and if you buy success, it doesn't always work out for you. So the issue with Costa now is there's a fine line, there's a fine gap between him being worth 32 million, which is feasible in this, how much people are spending on players at the moment, and them tying him down to a contract and him playing better, and then his price going up to 50, 60 million, which could happen.
Yeah. What do you think of Jackson Martinez, Kristian?
As a player or transfer-wise?
Both.
I think transfer-wise, we'll start with transfer. Sorry, bad news again. I can't see it happening in January, and the same applies about the summer. I mean, it's a long time. It's Portugal. Let's not get too carried away with what he's doing over there. I mean, there are success stories. Don't get me wrong, but I think if he would struggle if he came over to La Liga or the Premiership. Do you not think?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, like you say, it's Portugal, so we just don't know. There have been success stories, like you say, coming out of Portugal. He would follow in the footsteps of people like Falcao. I wrote a blog about him quite a while ago.
It's a good blog.
I reblogged it recently because people were asking kind of who he was, and it was generally a blog where I was like, I have no idea who he is, so I'm going to have a look and cyber scout him, if you like. And I spoke at the time about Porto actually having quite a good reputation for finding a striker. So it wouldn't be a bad club to kind of look at in terms of success stories. But again, it's not a guarantee, and he would still be quite expensive.
Yeah, again, it's another one of those players that does he justify that sort of €40 million price tag?
Yeah.
And you sort of just think, is it more agent talk and the sort of Portuguese press building it up? Because how's his contract? Has he got a couple of years yet on that, or is it?
That is a good question.
Because that could be another thing, obviously, getting him a new contract and linking him with us who need a striker.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I haven't really seen enough of him to have a sort of a valid opinion on him, really. I've seen snippets in a few of his games, and he looks a threat. But, again, does he justify that sort of sum of money?
I mean, his goal-scoring record for Colombia isn't as good as you think it should be. I know they're Colombia, but I mean, Colombia are a good side in South America.
They're like ranked 4th in the world or something.
Yeah, but that's FIFA's rank. Oh, that's poor ranking. Switzerland 7th. Yeah, I know they work out in a funny way, but the reason that I can't see any of these deals happening is because didn't Giroud say a few weeks ago that he didn't want Arsenal to sign another striker?
Yeah,
he thought he could handle it.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, because in the summer,
Arteta said he wants us to, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He changed his stance. It's interesting how it quickly changes. When we were talking last week, Steve, about Walcott and not knowing the length of his injury, now we know that he's gone. What are you thinking on transfers?
It's a tough one because it's like one out and one in, isn't it? With Ox who could play out there. I would like us to bring someone in. Undoubtedly, I would like us to bring someone in, but I'm not in the camp of title challenge is over if we don't.
Yeah.
But we've got an opportunity, the best opportunity that we've had in years, so to go and do something. So if we can make that opportunity better, the chances of that better, while we've got some money, if the opportunity arises, I think we should. But again, I don't think Wenger I don't think the board will pressure into making a kind of knee-jerk reaction. It won't be someone who he'll just go out. It will be somebody who we've been looking at for a while. So again, are those players available?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I'm personally slightly dubious because I think Arsene knows how close we are. We're on the cusp of glory, but I think we've got to remember that he's still Arsene Wenger. He's still going to try and look for a bargain. He's still going to try and find that player that he can turn into. Do you know what I mean? Turn him into water to wine, that sort of thing. So I don't know. We've been linked with a few players, haven't we? Young players that you sort of think Griezmann, the young Ajax forward Niept. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure. They're the sort of players that when you hear those names, they're the ones you sort of think, oh, this is an Arsenal signing.
Yeah.
These are players that he could buy that, on paper, they make sense as well, really. Wide forwards that play on the shoulder, similar to Theo. Obviously, they'd need time to settle. Arguably, they'd do nothing at the moment. Because it's rare that a player just instantly settles and is successful. You look at someone like Papa Cisse for Newcastle, when he signed, everyone thought he was Jesus. Because he scored 10 in 10 and those two howitzers against Chelsea. And you think, oh my God, why is no one signing him? And you look at him now.
He's off to Qatar or something, isn't he, apparently?
Yeah, apparently,
they're trying to get rid. So I'm not sure. I don't know. What are your feelings?
It's a tough one because then you look at the influence that Arshavin made that year as well, or I think it was Reyes a January transfer as well, where players do come in and like you say, Papa Cisse came in and had that impact, and if we can do that with our team as it currently is and bring someone in, it's have you read Eduardo? The links about Eduardo coming back.
Yeah, that's paper talk. I don't know where that story came from. Somebody.
It was just randomly. I was looking down the timeline. I was like, "What? Where's that come from?" And he's one of those players. Everybody loves him, but I can't see it. I can't see it happening.
Nah, I'm sorry. As much as I do like him,
what do you guys think about Berbatov?
We spoke about this last week, and I don't think we're. My stance, I think this might have been your stance as well, Ben, if I remember rightly, I might be wrong, that I'd rather Berbatov than nobody, only if it was a short-term contract.
Yeah.
Yes, that was bang on what we said, Steve, because he's a fantastic player, you can't get away from that. In the final third, he would be ideal for us. It would just be what he does in the other thirds would be the problem.
Yeah.
So, as you said, if it was him or no one, I would have to. I think I'd take him.
Personally, I think he offers an ideal solution to Arsenal at the moment. I think he wouldn't threaten Giroud's position. The only problem that you're going to have with a Berbatov is, can Wenger manage him? I mean, Wenger's a great coach. Is he a man manager? Could he deal with Berbatov throwing his toys out the pram?
I'd say yeah. I'd put that out there. He's dealt with Anelka. Who else have we got, Steve? Even Van Persie when he turned up, and obviously Van Persie at the end.
There was
rumours of fights with Theo in the at half time. I'm not going to say the game because I'm going to get it wrong, but basically Theo didn't slide the ball into him and took a shot. He went mental and tried to knock him out.
And injured himself.
Yeah, which is very funny. So yeah, I think he could handle it, but I think that's it is a good point because we all know what the sort of type of player he is. So I
think that was one of the reservations that we had, wasn't it? That we don't want him coming up and upsetting the kind of group togetherness that we've got at the moment.
There's the risk, isn't it? The sort of famous Rodney Marsh transfer to Man City, where they signed him looking like they were going to win the league, and it just went Pete Tong, and it was his fault. And he openly holds his hands up and says it was completely my fault. We didn't win the league that year.
Oh.
And every time Berbatov gets mentioned, that sort of rings through my head.
Yeah.
And I sort of think, oh no.
But then
Robbie
again,
Marsh
if he
2.0.
came in with an attitude and Wenger couldn't sort him out, then Flamini would soon sort him out, I'm sure.
Yeah, it would blind him or steal his children or something.
Going back to the Griezmann situation, is there anything in that? Because there was rumours of rejected bids and everything.
No.
Kristian would be
I know it's slightly boring for me to say no a lot, but when you have to, when you whittle through all of the stuff you read, I mean, 9 times out of 10 it's rubbish, and half, it's mostly whispers that have been made into more that they are. Griezmann, I can't see happening. Once again, summer's a different story, but it's what the movement's like in January. It's fairly sporadic. It's limited to just a few standout players, or barely any at some points. And Griezmann would be a player that would get people talking, and I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen. Not for that reason, but just because I can't see it happening now more than anything.
Okay. You say standout players. What's your gut feeling on Mata?
Gut feeling and nothing else is that he won't leave, and that he'll probably leave in the summer if things don't improve.
Okay.
But I know somebody told me that they're 100% sure that there's been nothing, no formal bids placed. There's been inquiries, as you would expect. No formal bids placed. No asked to leave. No hissy fits, apart from the game.
Southampton.
When he's throwing his jacket around, but I can't see a move in January, but I can see one in the summer. So that'll be interesting.
Do you think there will be much Premier League business in January?
No. Boring answer again, but it's we do need that transfer that starts the merry-go-round.
Domino effect.
Yeah, it will happen, but my personal opinion is that the busiest team will be Manchester United, as you would probably expect with them in the position that they are, and that all the other big teams will more than likely keep their head down, and they might squeeze in a couple of signings, unless the Draxler move happens, and it might set off a chain reaction with teams like Chelsea and City thinking, hold on a second, Arsenal have just brought a quality player here. Let's make a move.
Do something. Yeah, because
they're desperate for players.
Let's stockpile some more players.
Yeah.
Oh, dear me.
It'd be interesting to see what United do, though, because it's one of those situations where a player must be looking at that now and thinking, I'm not sure. There's one opportunity of going in there and being kind of a saviour and being a fan favourite, but on the other hand, it could still continue on a bit of a downward spiral and not the place you want to be. And David Moyes isn't quite the pull. It's interesting. Before we close off, because we're coming up to the kind of half an hour mark now, or just past it. Do you have anything you want to say before we close off, Kristian?
Yeah, just a little tidbit for Arsenal fans that they'll find quite amusing. I had it on good authority that Van Persie is not happy. Very, very unhappy at Manchester United at the moment.
Good.
That is great news. That's the best thing I've heard all season.
The Arsenal fans will love me for that one. Did you hear about him being about Ferguson lying to him about his retirement date?
No, I presume that must be the case because he said, didn't he was looking forward to years under Ferguson. So. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and Ferguson told him that he had no plans to retire when he knew. He's not happy. He's not happy of the system. He says, or so I've heard, that there are dressing room bust-ups. He's not happy generally. So that will make Arsenal fans happy.
Yes, very happy. And I love the picture on Twitter where it's Wenger looking on his phone. It says 130 million goals and it's Van Persie.
Yeah, that's funny.
How about you, Ben, before we close off?
I hope we get 3 points against Villa. I actually hope we smash them. I hope it's our first sort of 5-6-0. And I hope by the time we're talking next week, we have a more substance transfer maybe that we could be talking about. Because
Yeah.
as we said, I'd be a lot happier that when the window slams shut, because it does that for dramatic effect, that we have a body. I'd prefer that we had a body.
Yeah, and if we don't, we'll at least know where we are and we can just get on with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, we can whinge about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Next time we talk, hopefully we've got 6 points, we've got some players back from injury, and something exciting happening in terms of transfers.
Yeah.
So other than that, we'll see everybody next week. Thank you very much, Kristian, for coming on.
No
Pleasure.
problem. Thank you.
And Suburban Gooners out.
See ya.
Bye.